Welcome to Vintage SF. I'm Richard Rempel. I'm out here in Phoenix, Arizona. Got my hat, got a coffee with some eggnog, and I've been reading The Dreams Our Stuff is Made of by Thomas M. Dish. In here, it's very interesting. There's a lot of chapters based on themes or essays that he writes, but there's also some very interesting nostalgia, at least for me. I was born in the early 1960s, and so some of the things he's talking about here are really relevant. That made me think about another video that I had recently filmed, one in which I talked about some of the movies and TV shows that I watched when I was younger, 12 years old, or even a little bit earlier. The reason that I thought of it is I wonder if there was a bigger impact with TV shows and books when it was appointment viewing or appointment books, really. What I mean is, now pretty much anything that we want to watch, we can find and watch. And with books, pretty much any book that we want to find, at least digitally, we can read. And often through eBay and other sellers, we can find old books and pick them up. So does the scarcity of opportunity make things more resonant with us, more interesting, more memorable? So for example, with TV, you would have to know when a TV show is on, hope that maybe they kept the schedule, and be able to watch the episodes you want to watch. If you missed one, you're out of luck. You'd have to wait for reruns. There is no VCRs, there is no Netflix, there's no internet. The only way you could watch it is if a television channel in your area scheduled it. And when I was growing up, there were only 3 English television channels that I could access in our small country community. So to watch a TV show was really an event. You had planned around it. Perhaps you had your TV trays and were eating by the television to watch it. In some ways, finding science fiction books were similar at that time. My school library was the source of my first books that I read in science fiction. And as I lived in the country, we were about a half an hour out driving to Winnipeg. And then I'd have to persuade my parents to allow me to go to the bookstore or to at least a section of a department store that had a bookstore. It was also a matter of saving up my allowance to be able to purchase a book. So even books were really special if you could get your hands on them. Being in the country, we didn't even have a local newspaper. And so I didn't know about magazines or reviews of science fiction from the 1960s and early 1970s. But I start to wonder if scarcity is part of the value of appreciating something and having a nostalgic view of these first science fiction experiences. Are books and TV shows less special now because we have access to them, almost all of them? I think one of the reasons I'm attracted to vintage SF is that there still is a scarcity of some of the older science fiction novels. But gathering the collection of books that I have now wouldn't have been possible even 20 years ago. The internet has really changed things. There's much more access to books from outside of your own neighborhood. One other factor that I think draws away from that anticipation of appointment viewing or appointment reading is the glut of work that we have out here now. I find the contemporary science fiction in bookstores to be overwhelming. This is where I trust in some of the booktubers that I watch here on YouTube. But the vast majority of what I read is pre-1985. I really appreciate that you are along for this journey looking for vintage SF. So there's the anticipation of appointment TV. There seems to be a glut of work out there now. It's not as scarce as it used to be when I would go to a bookstore in my local community. And thirdly, I think cover art is not as vibrant and interesting as it was back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and even early 80s. Graphic design has gone to more flashy fonts and titles, and now we have AI pictures. Some of the people that are in the cover art nowadays look like they were photos that have just been adjusted by Photoshop. So how about you? Do you still find science fiction shows, movies, or books that are really special, that you really anticipate? Perhaps it's the release date for them. I'm recording this on November 30th, and I know on December 1st there's a TV show called Earth Abides that's adapting the novel by George R. Stewart from 1949. I look forward to seeing it in the future, but I won't be seeing it on December 1st. But perhaps some people out there are really anticipating that show. So how about you? Is anticipation really important to your enjoying of SF? Do you miss the appointment viewing, or is it something that still is in effect even though we have such availability? How about scarcity? Does that make you more interested in vintage SF if it's difficult to find? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, keep reading.